Prof, how are you today?
Morning, Bibi. I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm very well. Thank you. Happy Sunday again. Do you know, I feel like a few weeks ago we were like happy Easter, and
I
then
know,
it's like
it's just a couple
now
of weeks,
it's
but
like
this is
happy
what happens.
Sunday, happy new week kind of a thing. Yes. Hello viewers, good morning to you too. Thank you for joining us today. It is another sunrise. So if you're here and you know your friends or your family members who are meant to be with us, please do send them a text message and say that we are live and we are here for you. So Prof, how was your week?
Good week. I think we finally started to hit that nice kind of weather streak from the week. Yeah, well, earlier in the week it was a bit deceptive because you see the sun and it was quite chilly. But I think the weather is getting a little bit better, and the good news is it's set to continue for a good few more days, at least somewhere in the mid teens. So yeah, so good weather. Yeah.
Good. That's really good. I know the weather changes everything, especially when you start hearing things like, oh, it's going to be sunny, it's going to be warm. Then, yes, it is time for us to get out there. And also, with all the non-essentials being open now, it's like so many things happening.
Yeah, they opened on Monday, didn't they? Yeah, and everything is.
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't had the chance to go anywhere. I just feel like people are going to be crazy, like the very first few days. Like everyone just want to get into the stores, and someone sent me something on Instagram. It was so funny. She said, "Oh, all the people who are going out to shop because they're thinking we're going to go back on lockdown soon. I'm coming to your house to eat," or something like that. And I'm like, no, I'm not part of those people. Forget it. I'm not shopping anything. I'm not panic shopping anything. We are fine. We're out now.
And I think on that note, actually, you made an important point there, because I think the economic outlook actually for the United Kingdom, for that reason, is turning out to be a little bit rosier than anticipated, because of all the, if you like, some people whose money is burning a big hole in their pockets.
I know, yeah, they have saved a lot of money.
Let loose. So they've been queuing up at Primark, queuing up at JD Sports, buying all these things. Some of them buying to sell, by the way, not just to consume. So because of the pent-up demand, is actually thinking, at least in this part of the world, that any economic damage that was caused by the lockdowns and so forth may be completely reversed within less than a year, thereabout. So I think that's good news.
Well, that's good news for us then. That's really good. So I think for today, Prof. So yesterday, I'm sure, I don't know if you watched this. So well, sadly, we lost Prince Phillip. And when I say we lost Prince Phillip, everyone was thinking, well, if you don't know Prince Phillip, please, you should Google that person. Yesterday I watched the whole program on TV, and it was emotional. You understand? It was emotional, not because I knew much about him as a person, but it was just the few times that I had seen him when he was alive. I could kind of connect with him, like maybe more of his personality. And of course, I don't know if you watched the Netflix drama, The Crown. That kind of got me into like the royal family and all the history and everything. But one thing that struck me, and I thought I'd ask you today on the show, is that one of the highlights from when he passed and was on the news, people were releasing it. They said that he was with the Queen for 73 years. I'm trying to imagine a 73-year-old man or woman, what they look like. So you say that one person stayed with another person for 73 years. So they've been in that union. They were in the union for 73. So for me, it's like, wow. And then more so, it's also the fact that this man lived the whole of the 73 years, more like in the shadows of the Queen. And as we know that the Bible says a woman will be the helpmate to the man and that kind of a thing, but in this case, I feel like the man was actually the helpmate, right? The helpmate to the woman. But the fact that he was able to operate in that role for that long, what are your thoughts on that?
It's an interesting way you put it. But you know, before I answer that question, just want to say a couple of things first. Obviously, we are celebrating the life of Prince Phillip, and we acknowledge that, of course, not just him, a number of other people have also passed in this season. I know that a couple of months ago we had Sir Tom Moore, who passed coincidentally at the same age, 1999, just short of their 100th birthday. And of course, I know a number of the people who are watching have also lost, loved ones, say grandparents and so forth. So we condole with everyone, and this is not to say that any one life is more important than the other, but if you like, we're using this to kind of relate with where we are. So that's one thing. And then the second thing, you said you wonder what a 73-year-old person looks like. Well, you don't need to look much farther than Prince Charles. Who's their first child?
Exactly. Yes.
I don't know that he's 73, but he's got to be close, right? So, and that's the amazing thing. The man himself is a grandfather, right? And then that's his dad. So I think you've made an important point there, and that's perhaps why we're talking about this, okay? Not so much, I guess, about the death, but even more about the life and what we learned from it. And you made two important points there, which is the question you asked, and which I'm just getting to responding to, which is that, number one, they were married, and when we say they were together, yes, they were married for 73 years, because apparently the first time they met, they were 13. Okay. So if you put that in there, then that means 86 years. So of course, nobody's saying they were together from 13, but they've known each other for a long time. Never mind that they are related as well. Okay. But that's not the point. It's a long time. Okay. It's a long time to know somebody. It's a long time to do the same thing. Okay. And in this case, the same thing we're talking of is this idea of living in the shadow of his wife. And I'm guessing you are asking this question, and I think you did say so, because for a lot of people, and I've seen this charge leveled against our faith, Christianity. And I've even seen it sometimes also being seemingly propagated and supported by some of the things we see within the church, and that is this.
Yeah.
The charge against Christianity is this, that it seems that the faith is misogynistic in the sense that it projects men as superior to women, or put it the other way around, it projects the female gender as inferior to the male. Right? And then the people that say go ahead and give a lot of examples and say even all you need to do is to look at the way some people in church say certain things, and the woman can't do this and do this and do that and so forth, and they say just by virtue of somebody being born a man or a woman, there are certain, it appears, advantages they have where God is, in essence painting the picture that it seems that God prefers men to women. And I think that's the heart of the question, and I think the first is, of course not. Right? God does not prefer men to women. God made both. And I think, as you would often hear Pastor Timmy talk about when he's talked about this idea of dominion, the idea of dominion, he said dominion was given to male and female. It was not given to one or the other. So that whole idea should be out of the window straight off. But what of this idea of saying that, well, a woman intrinsically is supposed to be a helpmeet to a man, intrinsically. And then we see the opposite in the lives of these two, and that's what seems to challenge that notion, right? Like I've said to a few people, when I first heard, growing up as a child, you would always hear king and queen together, and so you would always imagine that the person married to a queen is the king, and the person married to a king is a queen. You always see the latter, which is that the woman married to a king is a queen, the woman married to a king. Okay, I should rephrase that. The woman married to a king is a queen. But in this case, the man married to the queen is not the king. It's not the king. It's just the prince. And you say, what does that mean? Why is that the case? It reflects what you're saying, making it very clear. This is the primary, this is the principle, and this is the support. Okay? And so is that actually something that is consistent with our faith as Christians? Is that something that is consistent with our faith? is there anything in our faith that says that a man can never be a helper to a woman and it should always be the other way around, right? And I think the answer to that, because I laid out that entire foundation, I think the answer should already be obvious. That is not, there is nothing in the Bible that says that. I think that people have often used their own traditions and tried to use the scriptures to justify their own traditions and their own prejudices and the ways they want to do things, right? I mean, it's one thing saying, this is my culture, this is my tradition, that's how I want to do. That's fine.
Yeah.
Right? There's nothing wrong with maintaining and sustaining your culture, but we should always be very careful to not attribute traditions to scripture. We should not be very careful to not call tradition doctrine. So it's the same thing that Jesus was speaking to Pharisees about, and he said, he was condemning them for it. He was saying, woe to you, because you take your own traditions and you call it the law of God.
Yeah.
Right? So where do we see examples in scripture that tell us that? Well, there are a number of them, right? There are a number of them. I would say to anybody who's listening to us right now, without checking Google, can you tell me the name of the husband of Deborah in the Bible?
I'm glad you said anyone that is watching, not Bibi, because I don't know. I don't know the name.
Yeah, and you can make that, you can make that a homework, right? But I think you can see the point. What of the husband of Anna the prophetess? That's a trick question, by the way, but nonetheless, husband of Anna the prophetess, right?
Oh, I don't remember. I don't think there was even any mention of his name in the Bible. Well, viewers, if you know the name, please put it in the comment section, please. Yeah, but I don't know.
So these are a couple of examples, right? I think the point is that we see examples, we see clear instances in the Bible where women have been called by God to a primary role in the kingdom. In the New Testament, we see the examples of Lydia, who the Bible says that Paul and his companion went to her house, and she was in essence the nexus of the church there. I'm sure that she had people in her life, but she was the primary in that story, or the principal in that story. So that's one. And I think that brings the question then, so what is the determinant of who's helping and who's not? And I think this is important for all of us in relationships, because I know that in certain relationships, I wouldn't call myself a relationship expert, but I know that in certain relationships, there might be tensions.
That's your title.
There are tensions where people struggle with this thing, I should be doing this, I should be doing that. You know what, maybe I think it's a simple matter. It's a matter of calling. It's the person that is called that is the principle. And if God has called your wife to a particular thing, your role should not be to try and take over that calling. It's not your calling.
Yeah.
God that has called her. As far as that particular activity, that particular ministry is concerned, you are her helpmate.
Helpmate, yeah.
And if you don't want to accept that, then I don't know, maybe you should not be in a relationship, right? Because we see that very clearly. These women that I talked about in the scriptures, they were called by God, and therefore, as far as even when the story was being told in the scriptures, the husbands or the male figures in their lives were being portrayed as helpmates. Okay.
So, Prof, just very quickly there, I want to put a twist to that, right? Because I really love what you said about it is a call. It's whoever is called that is the principle, right? What happens if both are called?
That's an interesting question, right? I do think that there is always going to be a place for leadership. So I think that even when both are called, the extent of their calling and the degree and the specific purpose to which they are called will differ. You will always find that, right? So you would find that Jesus called 12 disciples, but even within those 12, they had different roles. Ultimately, you had Peter, who was called in the place of leadership, and so forth. So you would always have that. You would always have some structure. So when both of them are called, there will be one whose calling is stronger, or whose calling is more directed towards leadership in that sense. And it's not necessarily always going to be the man. True. And I see people who try to undermine God's calling in the name of something, but of course it's tradition. They end up destroying just a lot of things, destroying their own relationship, and even trying to destroy the ministry which they are supposed to help.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's more common for us to see men who are the principal and then being supported by the women, but there are very few high profile, few examples as high profile as that of Prince Phillip. That's why we're talking about today.
That's right.
Because for 73 years, those people who saw them for that long, for most of us, we've only seen them for a few, but you could see this man understood his calling. Because even the person that is called to be a helper is also called. But their calling is to be a helper. He understood that calling. So for those years, you know, I don't know what their conversations in private are like. But even if they started off maybe early on saying, I wish I could do more, I think after the 50th year, that conversation, I know. You understand what your calling is and you're committed to it and you do it very well. And you set such a great example to everybody, whether male or female, saying, when you understand, number one, understand what you're called to do, understand if you're called into a ministry, into a calling where there are other people, where there's somebody else, understand who the principal is, and then align yourself accordingly. Because ultimately the goal is one. It's the caller, the person that calls is one. You're both called, but it's just one call ahead of the other. In this case, it's very clear. The queen is the principal. She is called. That's why she is the queen.
Queen, yeah. Wow. Awesome. Honestly, Prof, I love the way you answer this. I love the way you put it into perspective. I think for us, as the living, because we are still living, we are alive, thank God for that, and we can learn one or two things from it. For me, I was just really impressed by the fact that a man would stay with a woman for 73 years, pretty much serving her, right? So there were things, I'm sure we didn't know all the stuff that went down in the back room and all of that stuff, but that's fine. But in terms of their roles as leaders, in terms of even the queen, you know, because it's one thing to say, I hold this office. As you said, if your spouse doesn't support you, she probably won't be as effective as she has been in her role, and there would have been a lot more to talk about in the news about them. So one of the takeaway for me from this conversation this morning would be the understanding of the calling for each of us. Did you understand? It is very important, because how do you even stay faithful? And this doesn't even stay, we're not saying just this within a marriage setting. It could just be anywhere. It could be in ordinary, normal relationships, right? Because how do you commit to something if you're not sure that you are called to doing that thing? Do you understand? So, for instance, you are a minister in church, right? That is your calling. So you have to make sure you're in church, you do whatever it is that you're meant to do and everything. Some things that I can say to Pastor Temi sorry, I can't. You probably won't be able to do that because, you're a minister, you understand and all. And that's the way I see it. And I think I cannot overemphasize this, that viewers, I hope you have taken something from this as well. Prof, thank you so much for that. It is about the call, about understanding what is the call and who is the called amongst us. And if we're both called, you said there will be one person with that leadership kind of, or one call will require more than the other, but you always make it work. So it's understanding our roles and then working in that. But
I think what you said as you were talking, as you were talking, something, just another example came to mind. I don't know whether we remember that story that Jesus gave, the illustration in the Bible about this man who wanted people to work in his garden. And then he went out the whole day and he called different people at different times. Yes. And then when he came and he said, I will pay you what's right. And then when it came to the end of the day, he paid them the same. And those who started earlier said, but this is not fair. He said, right. But what is your problem? I agreed with you something and I paid you. Why are you looking at other people? And that's an illustration of it, right? Because, there is you understanding the call, but of course there is the person who's doing the calling. And in our lives, we're talking of a divine calling, but also even in our lives, there are human callings, right? You can decide to have a particular activity you want to engage in, and you get different people and you want them to do different things. And then suddenly you find one of them getting into their heads just because they think they are taller, that they are better able to do. This is not what I asked you to do. Exactly. If you're not going to do it, I'm going to find somebody else because I know what I'm looking for and I know why I've called you. So I think it's important. And I think this links to what Pastor Emi has been talking about. In order to be able to fully function in that calling, you need to know the person that is calling, understand what the person demands of you. Then that will allow you to be able to work properly in your calling with full satisfaction. Because what you're going to get kudos for is working in your calling.
Your calling, absolutely. Thank you very much, Prof. Guys, I know we can continue like this, and we still have more things coming your way. Of course, it's time for Spotlight Minute, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a few seconds. Hey, bro. Good morning.
Hello.
How are you?
Good morning, guys. How are you guys doing?
Great.
Very well, thank you.
Thanks for having me here.
Oh, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. So I call him Minister Lami. I know he doesn't like it. But, so viewers, you see how privileged I am. I have got two ministers right here. And Minister Lami has joined us for the Spotlight Minute. So thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me, Lami.
Yes. Did you hear that? Thank you for having me, Lami. All right, Prof.
Yes. Yes. So Lami, yes. What does that mean, actually? Sorry, that's just.
It's actually a Lami Day.
Oh, Lami. Okay.
Almost we've just called me Lami.
Right. Okay. So yes, Lami. So can you tell us one thing about you? Obviously, people see you at church. They see what you do in leading the protocol team, and anybody watching, if you don't know what that is, you can check. But apart from that, what you do at church and getting on the stage and things like that. What else? What is it that we don't know?
I was at school in the US, lived in the US for quite a while. Sorry?
What's quite a while? How many years?
About 9 years.
Ooh, okay.
Wow.
9 years. And then also I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan.
Dallas Cowboys.
Yes. It's been a rough couple seasons.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's
okay. We are fine. We believe you. We believe you.
I mean, it's not as bad as Arsenal fans. It's very, very good. So I can relate to them.
All right, Lami, thank you very much. We'll move on now. Okay, so don't bring Arsenal into it now. Thank you very much. Okay, so that's good. I mean, it's good to know that about you, actually. So right away, because we know we're running out of time, we need to get through this. No pressure at all, by the way, no pressure. So as we've said, we've got 7 questions answered already. So let's see if we can go over 7. So it's 7 questions under 30 seconds. So you're looking for something around 8 and 9 to take the
As long as I base my other protocol members, I'm fine. And also for La.
Do you know? Oh, no. Well, I mean, we've left for that now because like it was on 5.
That was 5.
Now we moved
7.
On, yeah. So it's now Goziam.
Don't even bring it back.
Mayowa.
Big words, though. Big words. Well, let's see what you can do, right?
Sure.
Yes. So, Prof, are you ready? So, as I always say, please, if you don't know an answer or do have an answer to a question, just say pass, so you don't eat into your time. So, and then the timer will be on your screen, but if you can't see it, don't worry about it at all. I'll let you know when the time is up. Prof, are you ready?
Ready to go.
You're ready. Lami, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So your time starts now.
If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Pounded yam.
What's the one thing you never get bored of?
My wife.
What's your favorite band of all time?
Roots.
What's one thing you are impressively good at?
Barbecue.
Which female celebrity would you want to marry?
None, but I'll put Kelly Rowland there.
Where would you live if you could live anywhere in the world?
Vancouver.
What musical instrument do you play? Well, you did make
I was on a roll. What happened?
Time up.
You went time up. It was 30 seconds. But at least you did well. You answered 6 questions. That is fantastic. You did well. And now I know where we're coming for barbecue.
Yeah.
To be fair, the questions were kind of long, so Minister Zuby.
Really? But yeah, you should, and that's why
they are randomly chosen. So what you get. But you did well. I think that when you delayed quite a bit with one of the questions, actually a couple of the questions, so that could have actually potentially got you to 8.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
Well, you were on a roll. You were on a roll, but
so don't blame the questions, Lami. Don't blame the questions.
You can try again. You can try again sometime. Sometimes soon you try again. Okay. Thank you so very much. Well done. That was 6 questions. So Mayowa and Gozi, continue enjoying your crown for this week. So yes, thank you very much.
Thank you guys for having me.
See you in service. Okay. Take care. Bye. Oh wow, welcome back, guys. Prof, that was really good. So Lami, thank you very much. 6 questions answered. Not bad at all. Okay, I know that we know where to go to for our summer barbecue. So we're going to be having SonRise barbecue something. And Lami's, by the way. Prof, it is time for service. Please take us into service.
Yes. Thank you, Bibi. So we are still, of course, this month looking at the power of God. And we started last week with this great foundation that Pastor Lee laid. And you know what? We're looking forward to more of that. Our cry this month is, and onwards, of course, is that we may know him and the power of his resurrection. We'll see the next installment of that in a few minutes as we join Pastor Temi and Hill City at the service. Don't go anywhere. See you there. God bless you.